Welcome to British Biomedicine Institute. Today, I, Dr. Pramod Khatri, Medical Director of British Biomedicine Clinical Trials, is going to represent a simple topic named as pharmacovigilance and safety monitoring for herbal medicinal products. So, the basic definition of pharmacovigilance is that all the activities which are taken to ensure or to enhance the safety of a therapy with authorized, registered, and frequently individually prescribed medicinal products. And here it also applicable for all the post approval activities which are related to the safety. So why there is a requirement of pharmacovigilance? Basically, whenever there is a new authorization of a new clinical product, then all the preclinical development and assessment, there should be an analysis of risk benefit ratio based upon the results from the clinical trials, like your efficacy or clinical safeties, and there can be a analysis of your pharmacological toxicological test for safety reason also, and for quality purpose there will be a requirement of physical, biological, and chemical testing. So for new medicinal products, basically there is a limited experience at the date of authorization because the total number of subjects in the trial were limited. The detection rate was less than 1 out of 1000 ADRs, and it is basically a specific artificial condition in clinical trials, and we are selecting only highly patients with no comorbidity, or children or elderly or no pregnant ladies are recruited because a protocol has a tight inclusion exclusion criteria. That's why we need pharmacovigilance for identifying the rarest form of adverse events. But the main advantage here is that it saw a excellent monitoring of the patients who are participated. So as per the old medicinal products which are available, we have to continuously update their safety profiles. Identification of new risk not recognized empirically, like your cancer, genotoxicity, toxicity, or reproductive toxicities, they should be analyzed again and again. There has to be a provision for identification of new ADR. We must update the risk benefit ratio and compare with the new options of treatment. There is also a requirement of updating information for consumers and health professionals. Under your non-clinical testing of herbal drug preparations with long-term marketing experience, the effects basically they are difficult, even impossible to detect clinically due to toxicity in reproduction, genotoxicity, and carcinogenicity. Expert report point out necessary, but they are not applicable for new studies. So as per the Commission Directive 2001/83 EC, the post-marketing experience with other product containing the same constituent is of particular importance, and applicant should put a special emphasis on that issue. The tests are basically not required if sufficient exposure or experience in human trials is available. If it is available in the form of single dose toxicity, repeated dose toxicity, immunotoxicity, local tolerance test, pharmacological test including safety pharmacology and pharmacokinetic studies also. So as per the Directive 2001/83 EC, the basic definition of adverse event is that a response to a medicinal product which is noxious and unintended and which occur at a dose normally used inside the human being for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy. And the basic definition for adverse drug reaction is that it results in death, life-threatening. It can require patient hospitalization. There can be a prolongation of existing hospitalization, which can result in persistent or significant disability, or there can be an incapacity, or there can be a congenital anomaly or birth defect that we call it as a serious adverse reaction. Whereas for unexpected adverse reactions, basically an adverse reactions, the nature, the severity, outcome of which is not consistent with the summary of product characteristics. All member states should encourage doctors and healthcare professionals to report suspected adverse drug reactions to the competent authorities. And it is the responsibility of member states to establish a pharmacovigilance system. There has to be a system for data collection with particular reference to adverse reactions, and these must be evaluated scientifically. We have to make sure that information on misuse or abuse of medicinal product is also accounted. Under your MAH, marketing authorization holder, it should have permanently and continuously at his disposal an appropriately qualified person which is responsible for the pharmacovigilance. And MAH shall be required to maintain a detailed record of all the suspected adverse reactions. It can be recorded, reported, analyzed, summarized, all the adverse reactions, unless other requirements have been laid down. Records of all the ADRs should be submitted to the competent authorities in the form of a PSUR, Periodic Safety Update Report. And the PSUR should include a scientific evaluation of both the risk and benefit ratio. So the pharmacovigilance system in each member state, which is available inside the EMA or CPMP. EMA full form is European Medicine Evaluation Agency, whereas CPMP full form is Committee for Proprietary Medicinal Products, or basically it is a scientific evaluation board, and their main objective is to analyze efficacy, safety, quality, biotechnological aspect, herbal and ad hoc working parties. So why the medicinal products, they are covered under pharmacovigilance activities? So if any medicinal product authorized inside the European Union is centrally authorized through mutual recognition procedure, it can be purely nationally recognized or authorized, or it can be through NCE, new chemical entity, or new medicinal product, or old medicinal product. It can also include your biologics like your vaccines, blood samples, serum, plasma, etc. They can also be herbal medicinal products, and it can consist of alternative and complementary medicinal products also. The main element of pharmacovigilance are, it is established for the identification of risk information pertaining to any particular disease or particular drug. And here healthcare workers like your nurse, doctor, traditional practitioners, they play a critical role in identifying those rarest form of side effects. Even industry, local health authorities, WHO, FDA, European Union, even literature, published journals, textbooks, handbook, database, all these, they are helpful in collecting or analyzing the adverse drug reactions. And even the registries and mortality statistics, they are also beneficial for pharmacovigilance activities. So under the routine work of pharmacovigilance, basically at the national level, there will be collection of ADR reports and other relevant safety informations for each state. They can be evaluation and assessment, They can also update a database, and a regulatory action can be taken at the national level, whereas at European level basically they update and continuously implement or revise their database. There can be an exchange of information. Pharmacovigilance working party discussion is also available. There can be formation or regulations for your directives, guidelines, or your SOP. And there can also be a risk assessment, conclusion, and recommendation based upon the outcome of the pharmacovigilance plan. So, under the European Union, the herbal medicine products, they must show data on hepatotoxicity. Basically, they are the exposure should be for 1 to 2 years, and different extract doses and co-medications data should be available. Here, the analysis of hepatitis enzyme should also be studied. Liver necrosis rectus should also be assessed, investigated. If there is a requirement of your transplant, either your liver transplant, that can also be taken care of. And if there was a death, any death report during clinical trials, that must be submitted. There are various medicines which can interact with other medications, like your hypercium extract. It can react with medicines like your digoxin, cyclosporin, indinavir, theophylline, anti-epileptic medicines, and irinotecan. Whereas garlic can cross-react with your aspirin medicine, it can increase the bleeding. Whereas quinavir medicine can also misbehave with the garlic. And for ginkgo extract, basically again aspirin can show a cross reactions. And for kava extract, basically alprazolam can increase adverse drug reactions if these medicines are given. So there has to be a analysis of the herbal medicines with other medications which can show adverse drug reactions. So under the element of pharmacovigilance, basically there has to be a data storage for all the ADR database, and there has to be equipment for rapid and easy retrieval of clinical information pertaining to the adverse drug reactions. And we can also use various directories like your MEDRA or WHO ART. So MEDRA full form is Medical Dictionary for Regulatory Activities Terminology, whereas WHO ART full form is WHO World Health Organization Adverse Reaction Terminology. And we can also use electronic data transmission facilities like which are being provided by the EMEA or by the WHO or by the network of national level, can also help in electronic data transmission. There can also be a continuous surveillance for drug safety profile. Here, the professional staff can also be helpful in case assessment. There can also be various studies or aggregated data like your PSU or periodic safety update report. They can also provide the safety data for a particular disease or particular drug. And here DSMB, Data Safety Monitoring Board, or any advisory board or external expert panel, they can also help in analyzing these type of clinical data. Under the in case of safety concern, basically there has to be a established and structured procedure for compiling clinical information. There has to be an established and structured procedure for exchange of information with external partners like your industry, your doctors, and your pharmacist. There can also be participation of concerned or interested parties. There can be an established and structured procedure for decision-making processes. And there can also be a catalog of possible and appropriate actions which are being taken from time to time. And after the decision, basically there will be an openness of clinical information and communication. There has to be a adequate information to the public and patient, and there has to be a transparency in the decision making. We can also do a follow-up surveillance. Have the actions being successful in the way you wanted? So basically there are various challenges and problem. Huge amount of clinical data will be recorded, assessed and exchanged. So pharmacovigilance requires sufficient technical and human resource within the agency to tackle this problem. And if there is a spontaneous reporting, then it must be ensured that no information is available on the that every information is available on the frequency of adverse events which has happened inside the patient, and the quality of report should be improved. But the main challenges are if the product is clearly unidentified, outcome is not clear, co-medications are not specified through which this SAE has happened, and if the information is incomplete or it entirely depends upon the primary assumption of medical doctor, then again it will be a big challenge for pharmacovigilance. Under the element of a strategy herbal medicine product, basically we have to identify the market, which product, which constituent, new or well established or industrially prepared, should be identified. And here we have to identify stakeholder also, like your industry, your medical doctor, pharmacist and other healthcare providers, for example your traditional practitioners and nurses. We can also create a reporting line and center of competence, and for this we can use or we can take help from WHO or European Union or METRA. We can also train our assessors. We can also create a advisory panel which will conduct a meeting from time to time, and we can also identify areas of potential concern. For example, genotoxicity, carcinogenicity. We can use of children and pregnant ladies, the interaction between modern medicinal products and symptoms of chronic toxicity which usually interfere with the symptoms of disease like your hepatotoxicity. So we have to identify the information gap, and for this there has to be a systemic literature search on the medicinal product, plants and related species. We can also search for information on isolated constituents, for example like your medicines, pyrrolizidinic alkaloids, 4-bilister, safrols. Basically these are the concept for negative markers. And we can also search for the clinical information on traditional misuse like your abortive agents. There is a need for taking a appropriate action, and these can be discussed with the stakeholders. We can explore the possibilities of systemic studies like your cohort studies, your case control studies, your observational studies, and we must be aware of public acceptance to the risk and notion possible beneficial of natural medicines, and there has to be a balanced information on the public on risk and the benefit on herbal medicines, which will increase the public confidence in the administrative action. And basically overreacting is not a solution, but it will create a problem for us also. So I hope you have gained a lot of clinical information through this presentation. Please like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel named as British Biomedicine Institute. Good luck, goodbye.